Thank you for watching. Subscribe on Betrayed Man's Diary for more stories. We're both in our 30s. Her name's Emily. What started as a long-standing friendship turned into something real, a long-distance relationship that lasted almost 3 years. It felt solid. Mature. Built on actual connection. We weren't just romantic partners, we were old friends who happened to fall into something deeper. We'd travel together. Meet in new cities. Stay up too late in unfamiliar hotel beds, talking about the people we used to be and the people we hoped to become. It wasn't perfect, but it was meaningful. We made plans, serious ones. She was supposed to fly out soon to meet my teenage son. It felt like that milestone meant something, the moment where our two lives would start becoming one. But then, slowly, things started to change. Not in a way that screamed danger, not at first. It was more like emotional static. The connection was still there, but something had gone fuzzy. She started pulling away at night. Where we used to talk on the phone before bed every evening, even if it was just for 10 minutes, those calls became rare. Text threads would go dark after 8 p.m. When I asked, she'd say she was tired. Worn out. Mentally checked out from the day. I believed her. She'd told me before about her struggles with depression. How she'd been through trauma. How she sometimes shut down when things got heavy. And because I cared about her, because I loved her, I didn't question it. I gave her grace. I told myself this was what a good partner does. You support. You wait. You trust. She mentioned going back to therapy. Said she was overwhelmed. Said she needed time to figure things out. That life felt too loud. And I, like a fool who thought love could fix everything, accepted that. I assumed her distance was emotional. Not strategic. Not deceptive. I stopped asking too many questions. Didn't want to seem controlling or pushy. Didn't want to make her retreat further. I told myself. This is what support looks like. Just wait it out. She'll come back. So I waited. And waited. Looking back, the signs were there. The late responses. The disappearing acts. The excuses that started to sound copy-pasted. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. That I was imagining things. But deep down, I think I knew. I think I knew long before I admitted it. I just didn't want to believe that someone who'd once cried in my arms could be lying to my face. That someone who told me she loved me could be crawling into someone else's bed. That the reason I stopped hearing from her after dark was because someone else was there, lying next to her. But I didn't know that yet. Not fully. All I knew was that something was breaking, slowly, silently, and I was too scared to look closely at the cracks. I asked her, more than once, if there was someone else. Not accusatory. Not yelling. Just asking. Carefully. Gently. Because even then, part of me didn't want the answer. But I needed to hear her say it. No, she told me every time. No hesitation. No pause. Just a flat, rehearsed no. Followed by. You're overthinking things. You're spiraling again. I just need space, okay? That doesn't mean I'm cheating. And because she said it so calmly, so confidently, I believed her. At least, I tried to. Because doubting her meant doubting everything we'd built. But the patterns didn't lie. And they were everywhere. She never called after 8 p.m. anymore. That used to be our time, those quiet end-of-day calls, where we'd debrief, joke, talk about the little stuff. It was our version of falling asleep next to each other. Gone. Vanished. Replaced by excuses. I'm just drained. I'm crashing early tonight. Can we talk in the morning? The calls that did come were short. Scripted. Carefully timed. If I asked her to FaceTime, she'd brush it off. I look like crap right now. I'm already in bed. I'm out, it's loud here. But the background was always suspiciously quiet. And somehow, she never showed me where she was. Her mood started shifting too. Random irritation. Detached laughter. Moments of silence that stretched on too long, followed by forced sweetness that felt off. Like she was trying to cover something up. Trying too hard to act normal. And when I'd ask what was wrong, she'd flip it back on me. Why do you always assume something's wrong? I'm not allowed to be tired now. Jesus, why are you so sensitive lately? I started to question myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe this was my fault, being too needy, too insecure, too hyper-aware of every small change in her tone. I told myself. She's been through stuff. She's overwhelmed. She's doing her best. But that voice, the one that had been whispering at me for months, got louder. The one that said, "This doesn't feel right. You're not crazy. She's lying to you." Still, I waited. Still, I let her words smooth over the jagged edges of her behavior. Because I wanted to believe her. Because the alternative, that I was being played, used, lied to, was too painful to look at directly. But those patterns? They were still there. Still growing. And eventually, they'd become undeniable. Because no matter how hard she tried to hide the truth was starting to find its own way out. At the time, I was running on fumes, physically, emotionally, mentally. I was finishing nursing school while still working shifts as a firefighter. It was brutal. 12-hour days. Late night studying. Exams, labs, back-to-back calls. I was operating on caffeine, stubbornness, and the belief that when I crossed that finish line, Emily and I would finally be in the same place, permanently. That was the plan. One of us would move. We talked about it often, casually, sometimes, but always seriously underneath. If I came to your city, what neighborhood would we live in? If you moved here, how far would the commute be to the hospital? They weren't pipe dreams. They were next steps. At least, I thought so. We were still deeply involved. Still connected. Still intimate. I flew down to see her regularly. We'd fall into bed like nothing had changed. Still held each other like it meant something. Still kissed like we were trying to remember how we ever went so long without doing it. 2 weeks before it all fell apart, we had sex. Not casual sex. Not "this isn't working but we're still here" sex. Real intimacy. Tender. Familiar. The kind of moment you don't fake if you're done with someone. I still have the texts from that night. She told me she wished I hadn't gotten a vasectomy. Said she wished she could have had my baby. Wrote those words to me with no irony, no hesitation, no sense of distance. How do you say that to someone if you've already built a life with another man? How do you lie with your body, your mouth, your heart, so convincingly, and pretend nothing's off? We were planning future trips. Looking at flights. She wanted to go to the coast. I wanted to take her camping in the mountains after my graduation. We made lists of places to eat, places to hike, playlists for the drive. We were celebrating. I sent her photos from my pinning ceremony. She sent back hearts, exclamation points, said she was proud of me, so proud of me. And I believed her. Because how could someone tell you they're proud of you, that they love you, that they want a child with you, while living with someone else? Nothing felt cold. Nothing felt distant. She didn't pull back. She didn't act guilty. She still called me babe. Still signed off with "I love you." Still sounded like someone building a life, not someone tearing one down. And that's what kills me. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was how good she was at pretending it was real. I wasn't chasing a ghost. I was in it. Fully. Believing every word. Every plan. Every smile. Because on my end, it was still real. For a long time, I kept trying to make sense of the distance. I asked gentle questions. Then firmer ones. I brought up the inconsistency, the late-night silences, the vague answers. I pointed out how different she seemed, how cold she'd gotten when we used to be so close. She always had a reason. Always something vague but heavy-sounding enough to keep me from pressing. It's just a lot right now. I'm in my head. Please stop asking. I gave her room. More than I should have. I waited for her to come back to herself, to me. But she never did. What I didn't know, what she never told me, was that she had already moved in with another man. Fully. She was living in his house. Helping raise his daughters. Playing stepmom. Making meals. Folding laundry. Going to sleep in his bed, night after night, while still texting me good morning and calling me baby. The double life wasn't theoretical anymore. It was real. And I had been the side act for an entire year. I would have never known unless I pushed. But something in me snapped. One night, after yet another short, robotic message from her, I pressed harder than I ever had. I asked if there was someone else. I asked why she was treating me like a stranger. I told her I deserved better than silence. I told her I knew something was off. That I could feel it in her words. In her absence. In the way she no longer asked how my day was or if I'd eaten or how school was going. That night, she didn't reply. The next morning, she did. One message. Colder than anything I've ever read. Word for word. I'm just going to have to inform you now and going forward that I am no longer interested in communicating with you at all. Over this past year, I have lacked communication. Please respect my space as I would like to give my full attention to where I am currently in life and my relationship with my man. That was it. No conversation. No closure. No apology. Just a clinical, detached message like I was a customer whose service had been cancelled. She didn't even say my name. She wasn't overwhelmed. She wasn't depressed. She was just done with me, and didn't have the courage to admit it until I forced her hand. I wasn't even worth a phone call. Not after everything. Not after 3 years. Not after planning a life together. She didn't just cheat. She replaced me, and tried to keep the benefits of both lives while doing it. She built a new world and kept a foot in mine just long enough to make sure she could leave without consequence. And when she was finally called out, she didn't explain. She didn't even flinch. She just disappeared. That message, cold, impersonal, absolute, was the first time Emily admitted she was in another relationship. Until then, she had gaslit me. For a full year. She made me believe I was overanalyzing. That I was insecure. That I was the problem for asking why the calls stopped or why her tone changed or why she never showed me where she was. But all along, she was living with another man. A full domestic life. The worst part wasn't just that she lied. It was how thoroughly she lied. She sent me videos. Selfies in the kitchen. Little clips of her cooking, captioned, helping mom with dinner again. There was steam rising in the background. Kids' voices laughing off screen. She looked calm, happy, like she was part of a family moment, one I thought she was sharing with her mother. I remember telling her how sweet it was. Told her I loved how close they'd gotten. She said, "Yeah, I really like spending time here." That video. She was making dinner for his daughters. Helping them with homework. Serving plates. Laughing in the background with a man I didn't know existed. Easter came and went. She sent pictures, table setups, pastel decorations, kids playing with plastic eggs. Said it was a family gathering. Said her aunt was visiting. Said she didn't want to do a video call because everyone was being loud and awkward. I believed her. Because why wouldn't I? She was always so convincing. But once she blocked me. Once that final message hit and the door slammed shut. My brain switched. I stopped grieving and started connecting the dots. And what I found made me sick. I found his social media. Took me less than 10 minutes. She'd been careful, she never tagged him. Never posted him. Never said his name. But she'd left clues. A background here. A logo there. A car model I vaguely remembered seeing in a blurry story clip. I reverse searched everything. And there it was. His profile. His pictures. His life. And her, in it. Not prominently. But in the background of photos. In the comments. At birthday parties. Behind the camera on Christmas morning. Wearing a hoodie I recognized from a trip she took with her cousin. I saw the car. His car, parked in front of the house in at least 6 different shots. The same one I once asked her about when I thought it was just a neighbor's. The same one that showed up in reflections on windows, in the edges of videos she sent me while claiming to be somewhere else. I recognized the house. The kitchen tiles. The front porch with the hanging swing. The bedroom mirror she once snapped a pic in and told me it was a friend's place she was crashing at. It was his house. It had always been his house. She wasn't just visiting. She lived there. I sat in silence for a long time after that. Just, silent. Letting the weight of it settle. Letting the rage build. Because it wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. I had unknowingly been the other man. The ghost in her double life. And now. Now I knew. Now I saw the whole picture. And the only question left was. What do I do with it? I didn't blow up her phone. Didn't send paragraphs or voice notes or threats or screenshots. I just wrote one final message. Calm. Direct. Not angry, though I had every right to be. I didn't curse or accuse or try to drag her back into a conversation I knew she'd already abandoned. I just told her the truth. That I had figured everything out. That I didn't need her explanations anymore. That I wasn't confused or lost or waiting for closure. Because I had closure, the kind you give yourself when the other person refuses to give you the decency of honesty. I didn't name names. Didn't say his name. Didn't mention the house or the kids or the pictures or the timeline. I wanted her to feel it without needing details. I wanted her to know that the web she wove had finally come undone. I don't know what she did after that. I never got a reply. Not that I expected one. She probably told him I was just some crazy ex who couldn't let go. That I was unstable. Clingy. Delusional. She probably twisted the story to make herself the victim, said she tried to let me down easy, that I couldn't take a hint, that I was making stuff up. Maybe he saw one of my messages. Maybe she panicked and cut ties because I was getting too close to the truth. Or maybe, and this one hurts the most, maybe she never cared at all. Maybe I was just a placeholder. I'll never know. And the longer time passes, the less I want to. Because the why stopped mattering the second she chose to ghost me instead of own her actions. We were still involved. Still connected. Still making plans. Still sleeping together. Still dreaming about a future. She was sending me, "I love you," texts with his daughter brushing her teeth in the background. She was sexting me while sleeping in his bed. And then, without warning, she pulled the plug. It wasn't mutual. It wasn't discussed. It wasn't over in the traditional sense. She just disappeared. Shut the door and threw away the key. Like everything we built was a costume she could peel off and leave on the floor. I don't think she expected me to figure it out. I think she thought I'd sit in the silence and blame myself. Let her memory stay clean. Let the story she told him, and probably told herself, remain intact. But I didn't. I found the truth. And even though she'll never admit it, she knows I know. And that's enough for me. I've had time to think now. To sift through the wreckage and look at it with something like clarity. Not forgiveness, not yet. But distance. Enough distance to stop shaking. And I get it. I do. I understand the situation Emily was in. She's 36. Living at home with her parents. Working a job she didn't love, surrounded by people who didn't challenge her. Waiting for life to happen while pretending it already had. Then he showed up. Someone local. Someone stable. Someone who didn't live 2 states away or come with long-distance logistics and complicated plans. He had a house. A routine. A presence. He was convenient. And maybe that was all it took. I don't think she set out to hurt me. I really don't. I don't think she woke up one day and decided to run a year-long emotional con on someone who had only ever been patient and loyal to her. I think it just happened. A spark. A moment. A chance. And instead of stopping it, she fed it. Fed it with omissions. With half-truths. With silence. Until it grew too big to confess. So she let it spiral, and I got dragged along, kept in the wings, maintained just enough to keep her options open. And that's where the real betrayal lives. Not in the spark that started it. But in the daily choice to say nothing. In the lies she repeated like prayers. In the videos she sent with kids giggling in the background, kids that weren't her niece, or her cousins, or her friends. In the smile she wore while cooking in a kitchen she pretended wasn't hers. In all the tiny moments she could have said, "I need to tell you something," and didn't. She never apologized. Never admitted the truth. Never said, "You're right," or "I'm sorry." Not once. Not when I asked if someone else was in the picture. Not when I begged for clarity. Not even in her last message, the one that read like a formal HR memo from a stranger I never met. Just a final sentence to cut me off, then silence. Blocked. Everywhere. Like I never existed. Like I imagined 3 years of shared memories, intimacy, laughter, plans, heartbreak, all of it. But I know where she is. I know what her life looks like now. I've seen it. I know what street she lives on. I know what time she picks up his kids. I know the layout of the kitchen where she sent me that video, smiling over the stove, telling me her mom had stepped out. I know exactly what it is now. So when I sent my final message, I didn't beg for answers. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I simply framed it like I'd known all along. Told her I had seen the full picture since 2024. That I'd let her run with the lie. Let her build the house of cards. And watched it start to wobble from the foundation. I didn't do it to scare her. I didn't do it to win. I did it because that was how I took my power back. By not chasing. Not exposing. Not breaking everything open for revenge. But by letting her know, I saw through you. That I always had. Even when I didn't know where the puzzle pieces fit. Even when I still believed your words more than my gut. I saw it. And now? Now I'm walking away with both eyes open. And you? You have to live with who you are. I could send the screenshots. Let him see everything. The messages from just a week ago, where she said she wanted to fly out and see me in July. The one from 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks, where she said she wished I hadn't gotten that vasectomy. That she wished I could have given her a child. Let him read her words. Let him see that while she was helping his daughters with homework, she was also sending me nudes from the guest bathroom. Let him know that the crazy ex narrative she probably sold him isn't quite accurate. That I wasn't stalking or harassing. That she kept this door open, that she invited me through it, again and again, right up until the second she slammed it shut and blocked me out. I could. It would be easy. Screenshots don't lie. And then maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't feel so invisible, like I got discarded while she built her new life off a foundation of deception. Maybe then he wouldn't get to keep living the fantasy version of her, the one she crafted out of carefully curated lies. Maybe then he'd know that the woman who now plays stepmom to his kids was also in my bed not long ago, at least emotionally, if not physically. But then again, part of me wonders if silence is more powerful. Not because I'm afraid of confrontation. Not because I want to protect her. But because maybe, just maybe, walking away without another word is the one thing she won't be able to explain. Because I know her. I know how she processes guilt. She can justify lying to someone. She can rationalize infidelity. She can paint herself the victim, spin the narrative. But silence? Silence leaves her with only her thoughts. No drama. No explosion. Just the quiet echo of knowing someone saw her, really saw her, and simply chose to disappear. And maybe that's the real win here. Not blowing it up. Not dragging someone else into the mess. But letting her sit with it. Letting her remember every word she typed, every lie she told, and knowing I saw all of it, and still chose peace over chaos. I didn't lose. I walked away. With my dignity intact. With the truth in my hands. And with the knowledge that next time I won't ignore the signs. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our dramatic stories. See you in the next video.